I'll now call the meeting to order at 7 o'clock. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I would ask for a moment of silence for our prisoners of war and those that are missing in action. Thank you. Secretary Billups, can you please take attendance?
Yes. Counselor Wagner,
Here.
Counselor Bradness, Counselor Andrusko,
Here.
Counselor Blackwell, I believe she's on her way, Counselor Heyman,
Here.
Counselor Banto,
Yes.
President Tunis,
Here.
Secretary Billups is here, Counselor Minnick,
Here.
Counselor Silva,
Here.
Counselor Wentz.
Here.
Thank you. And we have the Honorable Mayor Ed Brown. We have Solicitor Gallagher, and I think I saw Solicitor Marcini over there. And we have Sergeant, well, we have a whole lot of sergeants. Sergeant Garay, we have Officer Coella and Officer Bateman, and of course, all of you, the residents of Upper Darby. Thank you. Oh my gosh. I sincerely apologize. And we have our new CAO, Crandall Jones.
Thank you, Secretary Billups. I'd just like to inform the public. Superintendent Bernhardt reached out to me about 2 weeks ago, asking if he can do an award presentation tonight. It was not on the agenda, and that was an error on my fault. I want to apologize to the public, the administration, the police department, and my colleagues on council. I would ask if council members, if you guys are okay, if Superintendent Bernhardt could do the award presentation prior to public comment.
I'll make that motion.
I second.
There's a motion on the floor, and there's a second. Is there any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye. Aye.
All opposed? All right, Superintendent, the floor is yours.
Are we on? Good evening, everyone. All of council, thank you for allowing us to do this. Mayor, appreciate you standing here with us. What we're going to do tonight was we are going to give out the Dennis McNamara Award, which is the most prestigious award that this police department issues every year. The purpose of this award is such: the Dennis McNamara Memorial Award has been established to recognize an individual who has distinguished himself or herself in the course of his or her duties while employed by the Upper Darby Township Police Department. The recipient of this award shall have demonstrated vitality, intelligence, and creativity as it applies to his or her position within the police department. Additionally, the recipient should have a recognized commitment to his or her coworkers, public safety, and to the Upper Darby Township Police Department. This loyalty is reminiscent of Officer Dennis McNamara and the ultimate sacrifice he made on January 30th of 2002. This year's recipient of that award is Sergeant Stevens. Sarge, you want to come up? I will read what was written for Sergeant Stevens and this nomination. Sergeant Stevens, a dedicated law enforcement professional, joined the Upper Darby Township Police Department in March of 2014. Her career began in the narcotics division where she spent several months working undercover, showcasing her commitment to tackling complex issues. Transitioning to the patrol division, she honed her skills until her well-deserved promotion to the rank of sergeant in 2019. Sergeant Stevens was then assigned to the administration division in 2019. Here, she was entrusted with overseeing the community affairs division, a task she embraced with enthusiasm. Tasked with fostering growth and strengthening community relationships, Sergeant Stevens took on the challenge to ensure the division served our community effectively and became an integral part of our overall law enforcement initiative. When the opportunity to enhance our community outreach through our TAPS program presented itself to Sergeant Stevens, she eagerly embraced it. Recognizing the importance and vitality of such a program for our community, she jumped at the chance to be involved. She traveled to Houston, attended classes with great enthusiasm, and has since maintained that same passion while instructing students in our public and parochial schools, as well within our community and our libraries. Sergeant Stevens plays a vital role in our community by coordinating various events with a particular focus on the annual National Night Out. This community building campaign is instrumental in fostering strong relationships between the police and the neighborhoods we serve. Sergeant Stevens takes great pride in her involvement, consistently working to enhance the event each year. Her dedication is evident in the thoughtful ideas she brings to National Night Out, showcasing the police department's identity and strengthening the bond between law enforcement and our community. This commitment reflects Sergeant Stevens' ongoing efforts to build trust and create a positive impact within our neighborhood. Sergeant Stevens plays a crucial role in handling a diverse range of tasks for the police department. Her dedicated efforts and exemplary performance makes her a standout candidate for the Dennis McNamara Award. This prestigious award is designed to recognize individuals who have distinguished themselves in the course of their duties. Sergeant Stevens not only showcases commendable character and discipline, but also demonstrates a strong commitment to the community, echoing the values embodied by Officer Dennis McNamara. Her contributions exemplify why she has been selected as the recipient of this esteemed accolade and award. A couple other things to add to Sergeant Stevens. In 2019, when I was appointed to Superintendent of Police, it was the Community Affairs Division that Sergeant Stevens worked under with me, and she has been my right hand and has created this community affairs and continues to grow it to what it is. I can't thank her enough and say how instrumental she is in everything. Her husband Daniel's here tonight with her son. Daniel's also a police officer in Radnor Township. I know how hard it is with the little one and the kids, and I can't thank you enough for your dedication to this police department and our community and all that you give us. So, thank you. Mayor, if you would you actually read the award out for us, please? Yes.
Officer Dennis McNamara Memorial Award, Employee of the Year 2023, and to Sergeant Maida Stevens, Band 651, in grateful recognition of your dedication, commitment, and outstanding service to the Upper Darby Township Department. Congratulations.
I won't take much more of your time. I apologize, but Sarge, if you want to say anything.
You want to say thanks?
Good evening. Thank you all for coming. First, I'd like to give an honor to God, my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Through him, all things are possible. I'd like to thank my parents who are here with me. Your guidance and direction helped to mold me into the person that I am today. I'd like to thank my husband for remaining by my side, even though I can get extremely lost in my work. And to my kids, I love you. I hope that every accomplishment you see us reach, I hope you surpass that and have fun doing it. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Sergeant Lina Stevens. I did not grow up here in Upper Darby. but I've made this my home for the past 10 years. I remember hearing Superintendent Chitwood on the radio one day saying, Upper Darby's hiring and we need more women, we need more minorities. So I decided to take the test. And 2 years later, I got a call, 2 years. Anyone that knows me knows that I'm constantly recruiting. We don't have many women in our police department, and I hope that changes before I leave. Before I came here, I was a probation and parole officer in the city of Philadelphia. And I remember one of the supervisors there saying, why are you going to Upper Darby? I said, I don't know, but I know it's something I'm supposed to do there. And I know that because of Superintendent Bernhardt, because you've allowed me to be so creative in this position, I know that I'm doing what I'm supposed to do because I love coming to work and I love interacting with the members of this community. So thank you. To the community members, which are too many to name, all I had to do was talk to you. All you have to do is talk to each other and you see that this community loves each other. We all have the same goal. We all want to be in a safe community and see our families thrive, see our families be happy and healthy. And with that being said, my heart hurts for what happens today in Philadelphia. Hurt people are hurting people, and our children are suffering because people don't want to use conflict resolution skills. So I pray that they come together as a community to help address those issues. Last but not least, I'd like to thank my department for nominating and approving me for this award. There are many members in the department that could have easily been standing up here because I know all of you, you give your bodies, you give your minds, you give your hearts to this job. And I thank you for it because it makes our department better. Last, I want to acknowledge the man that this award is named after, Officer Dennis McNamara. He gave his life protecting this community. And I want to say to the members, it's all of our responsibilities to keep this community safe. We all have a part to play. So let's do that and get to work. Thank you.
Thank you, Superintendent Bernhardt. Congratulations, Sergeant Stevens. I would just like to allot some time for council members who have worked with Sergeant Stevens. She's always at our community events and helping us out in various ways. So I will give the floor to members of council, starting with Councilor Wagner.
Thank you. Sergeant Stevens, I got to tell you, I was an assistant district attorney when you were hired. I vividly remember when you started. I was in the narcotics unit, and I have watched you grow both professionally and personally. And I'm going to keep this real short and sweet. I am so proud of you, and this is so deserving.
Thank you. Next, I'll go to Councilor Banto.
Thank you, President Tony. Oh, wow, Sergeant Stevens. This is not a mistake. I can say that, clearly. I worked with Sergeant Stevens for 1 year, and I think it was a great experience for me working with her. She is a phenomenon. I can tell you that. She will always be in your corner, make sure that you succeed. And the time that I spent around her, I think I built a kind of special relationship with her that today, every minute she will call me, Dave, how's everything going? Throughout the campaign. So, Sergeant Stevens, I just want to say congratulations and thanks to your parents for allowing you to do that, and the husband and the little mama. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Banto. Next, I will pass the microphone to Mayor Ed Brown.
I just wanted to share, I don't know if she remembers this, but I want to share my first interaction with Sergeant Stevens. She actually pulled me over. But it wasn't out on the street. It was in the Beverly Hills Middle School parking lot. I was teaching my son how to drive, and it was after hours, and she came and stopped and parked in front of us. And I said, uh-oh, maybe we shouldn't be here. But she just asked me, she's like, what's going on? Why are you on this lot after hours? And I explained to her what I was doing. I was teaching my son how to drive. And she's like, well, good luck. Take care. Have a good night. So she let me stay. So I just wanted to remind her of that interaction. So I've been a fan ever since.
Thank you, Mayor Brown. Councilor Wentz?
Yes, Sergeant Stevens, I believe I was there at the ceremony when you moved up in rank to sergeant. It's been an honor to work with you in everything, in all the work that you've done in the community. I know that I've done, when I was council president, I've done a lot of tabling on behalf of council, got a lot of information from you and the community service officers on everything to do with police and safetyness within our township and coloring things for the kids. And we made sure to give that out every opportunity and promote the programs that you've been doing, which is essential for our community to get engaged and get involved. So thank you for making all that possible. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Councilor Wentz. Last, I have Councilor Blackwell.
So I just want to say thank you so much for serving our community. I know for sure that you go way beyond the call of duty, outside of hours and inside of hours. Excellent recruiter, de-escalating situations, employee relations. You got all of that and more. Thank you for serving.
Thank you, Superintendent Barnhart and the Police Department. Congratulations, Sergeant Stevens. The next item on the agenda is rules of meeting decorum. Upper Darby residents have the opportunity to speak for 3 minutes. Residents are prohibited from making threats, using profanity, or acting in a manner that would impede or prevent the conduct of the business of the meeting. Any person who attends the meeting and makes remarks, disrupts, or otherwise impedes the orderly conduct of the meeting, after receiving a verbal warning, may be required to leave the meeting at the discretion of the council president. Public forums shall not exceed 30 minutes. If a resident chooses to ask questions, they are voluntarily giving up their time for a response. This means the 3-minute timer will continue to run, no matter who is speaking. The timer is clearly displayed on the screen. Secretary Billups, in public forum.
First, we have Becky Duggan.
Yes.
Becky, I'm sorry?
1 second, Ms. Duggan. The time will be kept? Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
What? Push what forward? Oh, no, if they don't want me up there, I'll stay back here. That's okay. They're afraid. It's all right. So, Becky Duggan, I'm going to read portion of the Home Rule Charter from Article 9, Section 10, lapse of appropriation. Every appropriation, except an appropriation for capital expenditure, shall lapse at the close of the fiscal year to the extent that it has not been expended or encumbered. An appropriation for a capital expenditure shall continue in force until the purpose for which it was made has been accomplished or abandoned. The purpose of any such appropriation shall be deemed abandoned if 3 years pass without the disbursement from or encumbrance of the appropriation. Section 9:11, administration of budget. No payment shall be made or obligation incurred against any appropriation except in accordance with the appropriations duly made, and unless a chief administrative officer or his designee first certifies that there is sufficient unencumbered balance in such appropriation and that sufficient funds therein are or will be available to cover the claim or meet the obligation when it becomes due or payable. Any authorization of payment or incurring of obligation in violation of the provisions of this charter shall be void, and any payment so made illegal. Such action shall be cause for removal of any officer who knowingly authorized or made such payment or incurred such obligation, and he shall also be liable to the township for any amount so paid. However, except where prohibited by law, nothing in this charter shall be construed to prevent the making or authorizing of payments or making of contracts for capital improvements to be financed wholly or partially by the issuance of bonds, to prevent the making of
any contract or lease providing for payments beyond the end of the fiscal year, provided that such action is made or approved by ordinance. I hope we all understood what that meant. In light of that, I want to find out where we got the money to buy 3620 Garrett Road and where that came from. And I'd also like to make a statement that, I know you can't see it, but for people on council, this is what your trash and sewer fee bill looks like. The top one is blue, the bottom one is yellow. The top one is for the sewer fee, the blue one's sewer, the yellow one's trash. Okay, they are due no later than June 20th. Okay, so you would have gotten this in the mail. There would have been a white one on top that would have had your tax bill on it. If you have a mortgage company, it would have given you your tax bill. If you're lucky enough to own your home outright, you need to write a check for three of them. Get your checkbooks out and write them. The taxpayers and residents have to do it. You all need to do it too. The blue one and the yellow one, you just
Thank you,
raised
Ms.
them,
Duggan.
so you should be
Your time is
familiar
up.
with them.
Thank you. Next is John Vasari.
Good evening, John Vasari. First, I want to address President Tunis. The comment that you made at the last meeting about Treasurer Heyman, I felt was out of line, and I think you owe him a public apology. It was a little bit immature as well. And
Mr.
speaking of the
Vasari, can I
treasurer,
just stop you for a minute? Can you close the door back there? I want to be able to hear him clearly.
Can we add a little bit of time to
Getting some
this?
background noise. I want to be able to hear Mr. Vasari clearly.
Stop.
Sorry about that. Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Okay, and then speaking of the treasurer, requiring him to provide his report to the Finance Committee for review in order to be put on the agenda appears to be suspect to me. I am curious to know if the mayor and solicitor are required to provide a copy of their reports to you or any of the other committees in advance of a meeting. The treasurer is elected by the public and has every right to provide updates at these meetings independent of the council's control. Your new requirement appears to be an attempt for you to control the narrative for any concerns that may arise from his reporting. We have all witnessed how you, President Tunis, Vice President Heyman, who is chairman of the Finance Committee, and two other current members of council continued to gaslight the public and deny that there was misappropriation of ARPA funds by the former CAO and former mayor. Let me continue about another previous subject, which was just talked about, 3620 Garrett Road. At the January 17th meeting, I questioned why $32,000 was paid out from the funds allocated to the revitalization of business district under Ordinance 3139, specifically $100,000 that was allocated to Garrett Road West. This was done underhandedly by the former administration on 12/28/23. It was said at the January 17th meeting by solicitors that there was an approved ordinance to purchase this property, but at that time, and again at the February 21st meeting, no one was able to provide the original ordinance. The ordinance was 3013 and was approved 10 years ago on November 6, 2013 for $10,000, not 30. 10 years later, the administration cunningly thought they would use ARPA funds to purchase this property. Ordinance 3139 was one of the 8 ordinances unanimously approved in July and August of 2023 by council, yet never approved nor vetoed by then Mayor Keffer. These 8 became effective 10 to 15 days after the original approval by council. The administration and 4 current council members sat silently, doing nothing to ensure execution of these ordinances. The $10,000 would have originally been encumbered under another line item because ARPA funds were non-existent in 2013. As you just heard about the 2 HRCs that were read, 3013 is invalid. So we have another illegal action by the administration.
Thank you, Mr. Becerra.
Thank you. Next is Kyle McIntyre.
Kyle McIntyre, 1040 Drexel Ave. All right, so everyone, we are now a month into operation. So I'm just going to read this. I have some reports from our Director of Resources and Services and also programming, which I think will be helpful to the local government just to have an idea as to kind of what we're doing and what we're getting started with. The UDTJ Community Center is marching forward this month as a community center, and we've already met and established partnerships with so many local organizations and groups, and we're very excited for this upcoming month and wanted to share the launching of some of our first programs. Our first Serving Delco Day event will be Thursday, the 14th, with Career Link from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. to provide LGBTQ workforce development for LGBTQ job seekers. On the 28th, we will be partnering with the American Cancer Society from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. to address LGBTQ health disparities in cancer care and share resources regarding where individuals can go and get the support that they need. We will also be hosting our second LGBTQ peer support group, which happens every Tuesday from 7 to 9 p.m. at the center. In addition, we will have our second BIPOC peer support group, which we launched last month on Thursday, the 28th. Oh, that's a lot. Okay, so that's actually just the beginning because our big launching of programming is actually going to be happening during spring break. Spring break is quickly approaching, and we will be hosting events every day for teens and young adults from March 26th to the 30th. Our center at 115 Fairfield Ave will be open to our students, the youth, and the community as a whole from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. We'll be providing free haircuts with one of our events, board and video game days, workshops, obviously our Serving Delco Days, which I just mentioned, and including a partnership with Mosaic Medical Center to provide free HIV and STI testing. And our events will be going on throughout that week. Finally, on Saturday, April 13th, we will be hosting a fundraiser in collaboration with the Average Basketball League. It'll be an old school versus new school community basketball game at Upper Darby High School from 12 to 3 p.m. This event is a joint fundraiser to raise money for ABL Summer League to create more community programming and our youth empowerment summer initiatives, as well as just operations for the UDTJ Community Center through our programming. We just wanted to shout out thank you to Councilman David Banto, who recently visited our center, and we talked a lot about public safety. We really appreciated your time, and we also wanted to thank you for being one of the first sponsors for this event. We'd like to invite our electeds to sign up and play. We think it'd be fun for the kids, and also just a good community building for local government. We will have kids involved as players, commentators, performers, and volunteers for community service. So don't miss out on the fun. So there's a lot happening, but you can learn more by visiting our website at www.udtj.org.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you, guys.
McIntyre.
Thank you. Next is Joanne Namavag.
Joanne Amavong. I got this cute little ball when I went to the Villanova St. John's basketball game in January, and I am going to go home with it, but, you know, I hope you don't make a comment about me like you did last week or 2 weeks ago about David Heyman. It's irresponsible. It's immature. So I want to address the purchase of the property at 3620 Garrett Road in December 2023. I don't understand how the township was able to purchase this property without an ordinance authorizing it. There was ordinance 3013 that John mentioned from November 2013, which authorized $10,000. However, the HRC sections that Becky read would preclude this ordinance from being the authorization to purchase the property. You are 7 years and 20 late. You're 7 years late and $20,000 over. Further, if I'm understanding this correctly, you have used $30,000 from ARPA Ordinance 3139 from July of 2023 to fund this. I believe you've applied this against the $100,000 business revitalization Garrett Road West. This property is east of the description in the ordinance. So you really can't take the money from 3139. Ordinance 3139 has no mention of any property purchase. And what I want to know is why was this purchase pushed through right at the end of the year? Was there some kind of motivation to get it done before the new administration? Secondly, and you can answer these when I'm done if there's time. Since this was used to be a gas station, what remediation issues and costs will this township now bear? Which township official authorized this illegal purchase? And who was the agent that signed the deed on behalf of the township? The signature is illegible. Mr. Kilkenny's not here, but I'll ask you, Solicitor, I'm sorry, I don't know your name, Gallagher. Did your firm advise the township on this purchase? And if you did, why didn't you let them know it was illegal? And if you didn't, why didn't you? So there are my questions. Does anybody have any responses?
You want to yield your time?
I do. That's all I had to say.
So just to clarify this, the purchase was not illegal. There's some things that you need to unpack from all of this that you're not understanding. First and foremost, this is not an appropriation from your budget. This is from the ARPA funding that was provided by the federal government. This is not from the ordinance that is from a decade ago. That ordinance was repealed by the passage of the ARPA.
Let me reclaim my time for a second. A couple weeks ago, it was told us that it was from that ordinance. Someone from this administration came and said it was from the ordinance 3013 during the meeting. I yield back.
Your time will continue to run.
Sure. So again, this is from ordinance 3139, not the other ordinance. In that ordinance, there is a mention of the ARPA guidelines and the source of the law in which this is funded from. That is 31 CFR section 35.6 B32A11.3. I don't write federal law. Don't blame me for that.
Let me reclaim my time again. Can you please
Your
address?
time will continue to run.
No, because I'm out of time. Can you please address that it's the wrong address? It's west. It's not, it's east. It's not west.
We can address this during the solicitor's report. They can give you a more lengthy response if you're not satisfied with the one you just
I'm
heard.
certainly not.
Okay? The next.
Thank you. Next is Nicholas Hoyt.
I'm going to take my volume over.
Okay.
Good evening, Nicholas Hoyt, 300 Edmonds Avenue. I come to you tonight as someone who organizes the Upper Darby Hometown Heroes banners. This week we hit a major milestone, or we should have a major milestone, that all 50, I believe it's 49 or 50 sons of Upper Darby who lost their life in Vietnam or as a result of the conflict will have a banner up somewhere in the township. Over the last few years that I've been doing the research and finding out some of the stories of these men, over 300 sons of Upper Darby overall from World War I to today, I've come to meet so many great people, some who are related to these men, some who served. One of those is Brian Taylor, a good friend of a lot of ours. A lot of us have known and worked with him. I regretfully couldn't get here last month to make mention of him, but knowing that this month here, we have Vietnam Veterans Day at the end of this month, I'm going to take hopefully the last 2 minutes of my time in Brian's memory to read off those men's names. Paul Edward Allard, John Robert Anelli, John David Bowman III, Glenn Francis Bullock, Connell Joseph Byrne, Michael J. Callahan, Nicholas J. Cicerelli, Michael Joseph Connell, Cornelius Connie J. Dugan, Richard M. Fihiri, Richard J. Flagiello, Harold Andrew Ford, Victor J. Ford, Michael A. Giello, William Richard Gunter Jr., Louis V. Herman Jr., Robert D. Higbee, Ronald J. Hum, Dennis Paul Isom, Charles Franklin Kane Jr., Daniel P. Key, James Michael Kelso, Michael James Curl, Charles R. Lilly, Donald Brian Mansell, John C. Martin, Frank James Mastromateo, Robert W. Matthews, Paul T. McCaffrey, Francis J. McCann, Timothy David McHugh, Edward James Millison, David J. Moylan, Joseph W. Mullen, Richard Crawford Nelson. Sorry, I had to change pages here. Francis E. Parkhill, Robert J. Patterson, Francis George Patton, Edward John Rafferty, William Allen Rees, Edward William Riley,
Thank you, Mr.
Robert
Hoyt.
F. Resnick, Eric John Schoderer, Charles Joseph Sheridan, Edmund Sheriffs, Francis Edward Smiley, Michael Joseph Starr, Jeremiah Joseph Sullivan, Gregory Joseph Thomas. These men either all attended Upper Darby High School, Bonner High School, or there are 2 or 3 that did not attend either of our high schools. But they are all sons of Upper Darby who made the supreme sacrifice that we have this opportunity that we all have here tonight. So hopefully you could think of them as the month progresses, the other sons of Upper Darby and the rest of this country who didn't make it home. Thank you all.
That's all. Thank you, Mr. Hoyt.
Thank you. Next is Celeste Marks.
Good evening. My name is Celestine Marks. I believe I was here about 2 years ago in reference to forming a marching band up here in Upper Darby. Commissioner Blackwell know of me. We belong to the same church. I am from Philadelphia, and this is one of our
I'm
assistants.
sorry, are you a resident of Upper Darby?
Yes, I am. 7018 Ruskin Lane.
No, I'm sorry, because you said you
I
were-
am from Philadelphia, but I moved to Upper Darby. Okay, I've been here since 2004. Okay, so anyway, we're trying to, our hardest to be able to recruit the young people in the marching band. Zoe, say your last name, sweetie.
Zoe Dance.
She has her own dance company and dance school. I had a marching band, former marching band, for at least, we just celebrated 39 years of having our marching band. So what I created in West Philadelphia, I wanted to do the same thing out here in Upper Darby. So Rachel Brown and Jen Schooner got in touch with me to be able to start this marching band up here in Upper Darby. We've been in existence over here since September. And we've been trying to recruit the young people. For some reason, they're not coming out. And this is a program that can be just as successful as it is in Philadelphia, because there are many marching bands and community marching bands, not from high schools, but from the community, that is very successful over in Philadelphia and all over. Why can't it happen over here? I see a lot of young people out in the streets doing basically nothing. Okay, so we don't know. We've been giving out the information, the flyers. Oh, I'm sorry. We've been giving out the information, the flyers. Yesterday, we were out in the rain trying to recruit young people at the corner of 69th and Ruskin Lane. Still, there's no young people coming out, and we're not understanding why. I don't think it's being advertised, because I know if I would advertise this in Philadelphia, we would have a lot of young people, but we cannot bring the children from Philadelphia over here. So we need your help to be able to bring this program over here in Upper Darby. We're giving up a lot of our time to be able to make this successful. We have history in doing these youth programs. So we want to, and like my son tell me, if I want to go back to Philadelphia, he always tell me, Mommy, why are you going back to Egypt? Because there's nothing back there in Philadelphia for me. Just as well as the sergeant just said, she wasn't born in Philadelphia, but it's something out here. It's something out, I see potential out here. Okay, and this is not just a program just to keep them busy. This is a skilled program, because I can tell you a lot of success young people that came from out of my program.
Your time is up. If you could just give those flyers to Ms.
Okay.
Marcini.
Thank you. I'm only gonna give them a little bit, because I don't want them to go to waste. Thank you. See you Sunday.
The next speaker, we got it, yeah. like-
Thank you. Next is Olivia Taylor.
Olivia Taylor, I'm not going to be long tonight. First and foremost, I want to thank those that came out to the memorial. I'm sitting back there just thinking about what to say because it's so much. And at the memorial, you know, one day we act like humans towards each other. And then we got to come back in here 2 days later and listen to this. Nobody's attacking you. Nobody's attacking you. If you would do the right thing, we wouldn't have anything to talk about. We would not have nothing to say. You won't even let the damn, the gentleman who owns everything as far as the money. I'm just at a loss for words at everything. I'm going through a lot with my family, personal issues. And then to come in here and listen to how yet you passed the ordinance, you're still thinking about it. But everybody's waiting. The second thing I want to know about is how many illegal aliens are in the 6th district? How many? Because I see on different cities, busloads have been dropped off. How many have been dropped off in Upper Darby? You can have the rest of my time to answer that one. It is out of control. And let me be clear, I'm not racist or that. We need to know who in our community. They still ain't found the guy who shot the brother in the head on my block 8 doors down from me. He's still out here. And again, I asked you, how many illegal aliens are in our community? Crickets, of course. And you wonder why we come in here and call y'all out. I'm done.
Thank you. Next is Judy Duggan.
Good evening, Judy Duggan. So I'm going to start with reading also part of the Home Rule Charter, qualifications of the mayor, the powers and responsibilities of the mayor. You have the responsibility to execute and enforce all laws, ordinances, and resolutions, and see that they are faithfully obeyed. Now, 7 or 8 months ago, whenever it was, 11 members of council, some of them are gone now, but Mr. Heyman, Michelle, Danielle, and, my friend Andrew, they voted in favor of ordinances that you have not followed, that you have not performed this duty. You need to perform your duties. You keep saying, I need to review them. That's not in here. There's nowhere that says, I need to review the ordinances that were already passed. They were already passed. You need to enforce them. Kyle, I believe it was, tell me if I'm wrong, led a whole group of people, free the funds, free the funds, free the funds. And now, over a year later, we still haven't freed the funds. We pretended to, but we didn't really do it. Then I got just another little picky thing. That clock, like, Mr. Jones is new here in the township. We'd like to be able to see him too. Maybe you could put like a smaller clock or something so it's not blocking him from everybody. Then the last thing is back to something that the solicitor said. First of all, I would like to know which ARPA ordinance approved the purchase of that property.
At this point, I'm going to say it during my solicitor's report because I'm not going to argue.
Fine.
Just rather-
And then also, that's one question I want answered. And the second question I want answered is who in the township authorized the purchase of this property? I'm sorry, what? No, I think, and you also mentioned something like, well, that didn't come out of your budget. That's ARPA money. Well, I hate to tell you something, but ARPA money is my money. It did come out of my pocket. So don't sit there and say, oh, it didn't come out of your funds. It did come out of our funds. I paid ARPA funds. I paid my taxes to Upper Darby, every one of them on time, early, every year to get my discount. So, it's all my money. I pay my federal income tax, always on time. I'm never late. I never steal from the government. So don't tell me ARPA funds aren't my money. Thank you. I got 22 seconds. What should I do? I got another. They won't answer me. Who signed the paper? Who signed the agreement, the deed, when we purchased the property? We would like to name a person in the township or outside of the township, whoever it was authorized to sign that and signed it. Thank you. I'm done. You don't need to say anything.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Meadows, last name Meadows.
Good evening, Sam Meadows, 124 Copley Road. My issues is the trash. I know once before we used to have the community service come out and do the trash around the neighborhoods. We used to also have a machine that would come and clean as well. On our block, we see on 2 roads over Hamden and I guess across on Copley, they have permanent parking. I would like to find out when is our turn. We have neighbors and everybody putting cones in spots. They're arguing about the spots. We have commercial vans that clearly there's signs that say no commercial vans. We have commercial trucks, pickup trucks. They're driving down the wrong way from at the top of the light on Long Lane all the way down Sampson through the alleyway. We have them running running the stop sign that's always knocked down at the corner of Sampson and Copley. They don't stop for it as well. I'm sorry. That's pretty much all that I have to say.
Thank you, Ms. Meadows. I'm going to give you my card. I'm your council person. I'd like to connect with you on this as
Absolutely.
well.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next is Mark Lindstrom.
Good evening, Mark Latrenta, 5245 Apache Lane. Mr. Mayor, know your tenure is moving along, and you might recall some time ago I asked, what do you anticipate your deliverables being? I'd like to just get a checkup on understanding where you are with that.
Getting closer to making some announcements about what the priorities are. The gentleman that you'll hear from a little bit later on, Mr. Crandall Jones, our CEO, started a week ago Monday. So he's a part of those discussions. So we're getting closer to when we're going to make some announcements as far as I promised, what the priorities are, the order in which we're going to implement those things and how. So we're getting closer to that.
What's your deadline?
Well, I don't have a deadline because he just started a month ago. He just started a week ago, I should say, but I don't have a deadline. It'll be soon. It'll be within the next, I would say, month that we'll have at this meeting. From this microphone, I will announce what those priorities are.
So we could agree by May 1?
I think that's a safe bet.
Okay, great. It's reasonable. Thank you.
Yep, no problem.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is our Honorable Mayor Ed Brown.
Good evening, President Tunis, Vice President Heyman, Council, CAO Jones, administration, and the public. First, I'd like to thank anyone in the room who braved the inclement weather this evening to join us, and also thank you for those who's watching from home on YouTube. We appreciate community members that are connected to the township and care enough to learn firsthand what their government is doing. My mayor's message will be brief, since I'd like to give adequate time and attention to our CAO, Mr. Crandall Jones, who just recently started his tenure in the administration. I am beyond happy and grateful that he agreed to bring his considerable experience and stellar reputation to Upper Darby. I'd like to turn it over to Crandall at this time. Thank you, President Tunis and Council. That completes my mayor's message.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Brown.
I'm sorry?
Yeah. It's working out.
Oh.
People can actually see him.
Yeah, Eric, if you're around, we may need your help. I'll give Mr. Jones a second. I'll give Mr. Jones a second to move. Do you want to? Yeah. Mr. Jones, if just for tonight, and I do apologize, if you could just sit right here, you're not in the frame, and I just want the
Oh, okay,
public at
very
home to
good.
be able to see you.
Very.
Yeah, and we'll work on the logistics in the future. I'm so sorry, Mr. Jones.
Mr. Jones, can I give you another place to go while everybody else is?
Yeah.
Somebody call my name? Got it. Testing. All righty then, good evening. Thank you very much, President Tunis, Mr. Mayor, Council, thank you also. First of all, I want to say it is my sincere honor to become the CAO of Upper Darby. It is a pleasure and honor to serve this community, to serve this mayor, this council, and to serve the staff of this organization. And I'm really, really proud and happy to be here. I wanted to share just for a few minutes, a few things, some observations about what this first week and a half has been, and end with a little bit about me and why I'm doing this and what you as the mayor, council, and community should be expecting from me. So first week and a half, I'll start with probably the most important thing to everybody in here who's walked these stairs tonight, and certainly for those of us who walk it multiple times during the course of the week. I can also say, and of course I'm talking about the elevator, and I can also say that having been here for now a week and a half, I weighed myself a couple of days ago. I have lost 3 pounds since I get, so I'm really proud about that. So it's a combination, I think, of the elevator and really, really working a lot, moving around a lot, and I do appreciate both. So just for, certainly for transparency, the elevator repair process is underway. It is going to be a 6 to 8 week process to get the elevator done. As I recall, I think Eric said it's back in the 1940s. Yeah, 41. Yes, that the elevator was installed. And so we certainly, one of the big challenges is where the parts for a 1941 elevator. So the motor of the elevator is going to be rebuilt. We're actually going through a 2-step process. The first step of the process is to rebuild the motor. We've taken care of administratively all the things that we've needed to do to start that process, have a vendor on board to get it done. Thank you so much to Eric Smith for just the great work he did in shepherding us through this process, the mayor and I through this process. That's going to take 6 to 8 weeks. There's a second part to the process because we recognize that it is a 1941 elevator, and the shaft and the elevator need to be updated to modern standards. Supply chain and other things, nobody makes a 1941 elevator motor anymore. And so there's going to be a more significant expenditure later. We're getting quotes now from major elevator companies. We've got 3 major elevator companies coming to give us quotes to actually do the final upgrade of the elevator, so we won't have this issue anymore. I remember when I first started coming to this building, even in the interview process, one of the things that was told of me, make sure you have your phone with you when you get in the elevator. I know why now. So that process is going to probably be a 6 to 8 month process to get the elevator done, and it's going to be a significant cost. We'll certainly be transparent about that when the time comes. So big news out of the gate first in terms of what's going on. Second thing I want to start with just some observations that I've had from a very busy 1.5 weeks on the job. Certainly, one of the things that I set out to do is to get to know the organization. So I've been walking and talking and looking and reading and researching everything I can about to learn the organization. That's ultimately going to include a lot of things that not only the organization but the community as well. I've had numerous meetings with Mayor Brown to talk about his goals and his objectives for the administration. And I also want to make sure that some strategic principles that I have in terms of managing local government are aligned to what his vision and goals are. I put a copy of those strategic principles that I've shared with the council and the staff of the organization in terms of how I think about managing local government, and certainly welcome if you're interested to have a copy. I've been meeting with the department heads to set the schedules with them to talk about what it is they do. I certainly know what the departments do, but certainly I want to understand where we are in Upper Darby in terms of departmental operations, the current status, their work plans currently, and to start talking long range in terms of 5-year plans for the organizations, particularly capital plans, but general operating plans, general fund plans as well. We've been undertaking, in the look at the organization, a lot of discussion about realignment of the organizational structure. There are certain ways that governments operate and should be flowing in terms of work, how the work goes, who's where, what people are in what seat, who's on the bus, how they're on the bus, et cetera. We've been looking at that, and there's going to be some realignments of the organization. I'm talking to the mayor about those, and certainly we'll be sharing it to the council and ultimately to the community as those realignments occur. And that's really based on trying to, one, get to operational efficiency, cost reduction, and cost avoidance when we can. Certainly spending time evaluating the fiscal condition of the government. And I need to do that, obviously, to enhance my judgment as I advise the mayor and council going forward on the operations of the government. I'm assessing technology. It's a big part of any operation, any governmental operation, for opportunities to improve both our internal and external customer service. And those things range from HR, communications, procurement. Also, use of technology is also contributes to ultimately the cost reduction as well for the organization. So I always look at technology. Over the next 60 days, for sure, I'm going to be mostly listening and learning the organization. But there are going to be things, and I've already seen some, that are obvious critical issues that need to be addressed immediately. And we're starting to do that, again, reviewing those with the mayor and making sure they are aligned with his goals and vision. I've already started scheduling tours and certainly had a tour of this building, a great walking tour from top to bottom in one day. Except the roof. The weather hasn't allowed me to go on the roof yet, but Eric and I are going to go up, and I would love to see this beautiful city from the top of this building. I think it's going to be amazing to look at that. So I have a tour at the City Hall. I'm scheduling tours of the remote city operations. So I know I've got all of Public Works, Fire, everybody, Recreation, Leisure Services, everybody that has remote operations. My plan is to get all of that done and to make those tours. Those tours, I think I might have one already scheduled this week, and it's going to be part of the just ongoing 60 days of learning the organization. I've already reached out to council, certainly to ask for tours with them. I've invited the council to take me on a tour of your district if you're a district. council member, and if you're an at-large council member, I've asked, take me on a tour where you want me to see in the city, what your priorities are. I want to understand their goals and objectives as well. Now, a little bit about me, too, just for the record. I put on the table an ICMA Code of Ethics statement for anybody who wants to know. I happen to be a credentialed member of the ICMA, International City County Management Association. Take that credential very seriously. There are 13,000 members of the International City County Management Association, I'll say ICMA, from this point forward, all around the world. And of those 13,000, about 10% of us are what you call credentialed managers. I've been a credentialed manager for since 2006. And there are things that allow you to become a credentialed manager. One is a commitment to that code of ethics that I present to you. Annually, I'm going to, usually at the first meeting of the month, just for the record, resubmit my commitment to that code of ethics, because I cannot stay a credentialed manager if I don't commit to that code of ethics. And there's certainly a way that the ICMA could censure me for not being committed to that code of ethics. So I wanted to make sure folks understood that. It also requires 40 hours of community annually of continuous education and professional development. So I take my training, professional development seriously very much, and there are various ways I can accommodate that. I also submit as a part of that to an annual peer assessment by the International City County Management Association. I have to submit an annual report that is reviewed by a peer committee that says, yep, you've maintained your training and your commitment to the service. And then the last component of that is making sure you have at least, to even be a credentialed manager, having at least 7 years of experience in senior level experience in city management. So my first city management job was back in 1986. So I've been around a while in terms of doing the work. I also put on that on the table for public consumption. There are a set of strategic principles that again, I'll reference, that are important to how we would be going forward. Those are the principles that I will ask this mayor and this council to look at and evaluate me in terms of how I'm performing on behalf of the government. So with that, I will stop, say thank you very much for the opportunity to speak, Mr. President. I am looking forward to the journey of working with the mayor, the council, and the community to do all things good for Upper Darby. Thank you.
Thank you, CAO Jones. The next item on the agenda. The next item on the agenda is the President of Council. I just want to apologize if I offended anyone during the public comment. My goal is to give every resident the same 3 minutes. In the future, if someone is going over, if council members want to make an action to extend their time, I'm fine with that. But my goal is to treat every single constituent the same by giving them the same 3 minutes. In our February 21st meeting, Upper Darby Township Council unanimously appointed Catherine Kate Doggett as the Chief Municipal Clerk of Upper Darby Township. Kate has successfully completed her onboarding and is poised to commence her role on Monday, March 11th. I would like to extend my sincere thanks to Kara Gavin, Eric Schmidt, Nancy Bullis, and Allison Dobbins of Mayor Ed Brown's administration for graciously assisting in filling the void left by our previous Chief Municipal Clerk, and as we eagerly wait for Ms. Doggett's official start. In the same meeting, our Chief Administrative Officer, Crandall Jones, was sworn in. I had the privilege of meeting with Mr. Jones, engaging in discussions about the current state of the township and exploring collaborative approaches between councilors and the administrations on legislative matters. I was impressed by CAO Jones's professionalism and his extensive knowledge of municipal government. I eagerly anticipate the opportunity to work closely with him. As part of our commitment to have effective government, I will be exploring the formation of a subcommittee on redistricting. According to Section C313B of the Home Rule Charter, at least once in each decade, in conjunction with the census of the federal government, council shall review council districts to see that they meet the criteria set forth in this charter and in law. If districts do not meet this criteria, council shall adopt by ordinance new boundary lines for council districts. Both state law and home rule charter mandate that the township council realign our districts every 10 years, utilizing data from the decennial federal census. The township successfully completed this process in 2014 by adopting Ordinance 3017 on October 8th, 2014. I believe it is now time to revisit and address this critical undertaking. I will keep the council and the public informed about the committee and its processes as they are finalized. Your engagement and input are vital to the success of this initiative. Looking ahead, our next council meeting is scheduled for March 20th, 2024 at 7 p.m. Your participation is encouraged, and I anticipate meaningful discussion on matters that impact our community. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is committee reports. I will now pass to public safety, which is chaired by Councilor Banto. Members include Councilor Brannis, Councilor Minnick, and Councilman Silva. Councilor Banto.
Thank you, President Tony. So for tonight, I'm going to be actually updating the resident officials of the township, council members, on where things stand personally with the public safety. So with that, on the 7th, in the same building, we announced to the public that in order to effectively address the public safety issue in Upper Darby, we have to create something like a roadmap that will lead us to creating a safe environment for this community. So with that, we were able to draft a plan. And as I stated initially in my announcement, we put this plan together, and this plan going to be including every member of this community, that including the law enforcement community, residents, council, officials, and everybody. We are going to do it together. And basically, the plan will be looking at three things. And we will be looking at prevention, intervention, and enforcement. We are actually picking back on the National Public Safety Plan. But I thought that the committee should come up with something like this to be able to direct us and guide us on how are we going to protect this community and our residents. Now, with that being said, this plan will include everyone, of course. So we begin the consultation process. And over here, I can tell you, Kyle just mentioned to you, these guys, they are progressive group, and we also have to touch base with them to get input from them on stuff that we listed in this plan. Because one way or the other, it's going to affect their advocacy somehow. So we need to hear from them what they are thinking about this plan. Also, on the 23rd, the committee met with the police chief at the police department, and we were able to inquire from him how far he is with the public safety plan in this township, or the public safety activity with the law enforcement community. So he briefed us and gave us a few, lots in-depth of information on how far they are, how they are running the township when it comes to the safety of this community. And with that, so far, I can tell you from what we listened to, I'm excited about those things that we listened to from the police chief. and stuff that we saw during our brief tour at the police station. I think those are things that are in line with the plan that we are crafting. At the end of our meeting, we were also able to, present our plan. And he seems to welcome the ideas and pledge willingness that they are going to definitely work with us. So basically, we are still in the process of piecing this plan together, and as time goes by, we will get to you. But Mayor, I'm excited that we are going to do this with the administration, and hopefully, we will have something in place, to protect our community. Thank you. Any member on the team want to add a piece? So that's how far we are, and we will get to you, resident. We need your input on this, so look out for us.
Councilor Silva?
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Council President and Councilman Banto. I think one of the key parts of the plan that I like is trying to help. Then the police department already does a pretty great job of this, and we just kind of want to do our best to enhance interaction with the community and the police department in a way that helps build more trust. I mean, for the officers to try to have to figure out what goes on, they need the eyes and ears of all the residents. And for that to be of any value, the residents have to feel comfortable talking to the police. And that's not going to happen after a crime, but it could happen before. So that's one of the key elements of Mr. Banto's plan that I like a lot. So hopefully we can have more events to kind of bridge the gap between the residents and the department to help make their lives and jobs easier.
Thank you, Councilor Silva. Is there anyone else from council? Councilor Blackwell?
So I think that is a wonderful plan, a nice blueprint. Are you going to start out in your district, or are you going to branch it out to the whole township? Or is everyone going to be included
Well, look.
at the beginning, or is this going to phase out? I'm just curious.
I believe this committee is serving the entire township, so it's not just specific district.
Okay, okay,
Yes. So the plan would be covering the entire township.
okay.
All right, thank you, Councilor Blackwell and Councilor Banto. Next, we have the Community Engagement Committee. The Chair is Secretary Billups. Member include Councilor Banto and Councilor Blackwell.
So as everyone know, first of all, good evening, everyone. As everyone know, March is Women's History Month. And each year, the Community Engagement Committee, usually what we would do is we would honor women, right? It's usually some type of historical woman or someone in the community. But this year, we're going to do something a little bit different. We will be honoring women, but this time we're going to honor the women that sit on council. One of the things that that I think that a lot of us don't know is I don't think you guys know these women. Good, bad, or indifferent, they are phenomenal women that do the work for us up here. So we're just going to get a little bit of their story. And each woman is going to be on the website with their picture each week. And so you can just get to know them a little better. And hopefully it'll start this week. And then we're going to also honor someone for St. Patty's Day. And I will have this for you also. And also in May, we've always had our annual mental health awareness fair. So save the date. That's going to be May 11th and from 12 to 3. And we're looking to lock up 69th Street Field. So does anyone from the committee have anything? Anyone from council? Oh, that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretary Billups. Next item on the agenda is the Public Health and Environmental Affairs Committee. Chair is Councilor Blackwell. Members include Councilor Banto, Councilor Brannis, and Councilor Silva. Councilor Blackwell?
Thank you, President Tunis. So I just want to report that on May the 11th, from 12 to 3 at the Observatory Hill Recreation Center at 13 St. Lawrence, we're going to continue the tradition of getting together, meeting, and going out to clean different parts of the neighborhood. The second event, I think that I had a call from a resident that stated that in the 4th District, it needs a little bit tidying up. So anyone who can just come out and help us. We are going to do a pop-up event in March just to clean up the neighborhood. And then just to remind everyone, on the 4th Saturday of each month, we do go out and clean. We meet again back at the Observatory Field. So we really need to get this done, and it has branched out into different parts of Upper Darby. So does anyone from the committee has anything to, Laura, you want to say? Okay, so does anyone from the committee has?
Councilwoman Blackwell, can I make an inquiry for you?
Yes.
When it comes to the cleanup, and I know now we're getting into spring, we're getting into things like kids being outside, fishing season, this type of thing. Is there going to be a concentration at some point during this time of year to clean up the water outlets that are in Upper Darby? You know, the creeks and the streams, some of the areas where, you know, they stock all the fish. Because I know that there are organizations, whether state-related or nonprofit organizations in the area that concentrate on doing that, and I think that that would be advantageous for the citizens this year.
I like that. I like that idea, and I would like to add to that, that we could do something throughout the whole Upper Darby called a clean sweep. Everybody just clean up maybe, let's say, 20 feet from their house or from their business. We could do that throughout the whole Upper Darby, and that would reach the area that you're talking about. Okay? So we would have to speak with the mayor and the administration to see everybody gets on board and see what you would like to do.
Councilor Blackwell, Councilor Silva has his hand up.
Yes.
Pertaining particularly to the watersheds,
Mm-hmm.
the Darby Creek Valley Association typically every year around Earth Day does cleanups all along the Darby and Cobbs Creek and Nailers Run.
Yes.
So just, but their website, I believe, is dcva.org. They list all the sites on there. I know, like, yeah, along Cobbs Creek, there's usually two around Darby Creek around where I live, like at Kent Park and also the Swedish Cabin. I don't have the dates off the top of my head this year, but it's usually around Earth Day. So dcva.org would be a good place to look at that.
Okay. And just to reiterate that the purpose of the cleanups, it increases our property values. It makes us look good. Also, it decreases crime because when there's blight, it runs things away when it's clean. Yes, Council.
It's kind of fun too. To go and grab
And
a
exercise, getting
refrigerator.
up there and doing
Yeah.
doing some work. Okay. Yes.
So actually, to take off of that aspect, in ordinance 3139, for the business districts, we had planned on trash cans on the major roadways, like Westchester Pike. There's been a resident who came here for 7 years asking for trash cans. 7 years. It was during Republican regime, and now the Democrats for 4 years have not been able to put trash cans on Westchester Pike. The individual has died. He was a strong supporter of Mayor Keffer, helped to get her elected, and many of those sitting here on council today. He's asked for trash cans. We've allocated it through capital budget, $5,000 for trash cans. It still has yet to happen. It's in the ordinance. There's 3 trash cans on Westchester Pike. He himself emptied them himself for years. The one at the Exxon in the last 3 years or so, Exxon took that one over. The one on Brighton bus stop at Brighton and Westchester Pike, his widow is the one emptying that trash can in his honor. Can we please get trash cans on Westchester Pike? Can we please get them there so people can stop putting the trash on the street, on the sidewalk? Please, can we get the trash cans on Westchester Pike?
Counselor Wentz, what ordinance number is that?
3139, it was part of the business districts when we had originally discussed it for trash cans in the allocations. But there's also $5,000 allocated in the capital budget
Wow,
from
the
before that was for trash cans because he had asked for it. He came to meetings, talking about it. It's Gerald Harrison. He came all the time. And when he got ill, he couldn't come. So it would be great if we can get the trash cans, especially since he's died and can't enjoy them.
Okay, thank you, Councilor Wentz. I will just ask the Public Health Committee, a lot of the items you all brought up, aside from Councilor Wentz, you all are all on the committee. So if you guys can meet prior to the meeting, the next committee meeting, and discuss these items. Okay. The next item on the agenda is the solicitor, who has some updates for us.
Thank you, Council President. I just would like to take the time to respond to the questions surrounding Ordinance 3139 and the purchase of the property at Garrett Road. First and foremost, to the extent that Ordinance 3013 is inconsistent with 3139, there is a specific repealer clause in 3139 which would address that. So anything regarding that would then therefore be repealed. With regard to any mention of the appropriations provisions in your charter, they're not applicable. The U.S. Treasury Department is the responsible entity for ARPA funding, not the township. So therefore, you must comply with the Federal Register and the Federal Treasury Department in their reports. And they've issued a 2020 final rule and a 2023 interim rule. And the section specifically, as I tried to mention earlier, is 31 CFR section 35.6. And it's a long subsection, but it's B3(2)(a)(11)(3). Again, I didn't write this, they did. Under this section 35.6, it lists all the things you can use ARPA funding for, which includes this subsection. This subsection specifically addresses, and bear with me for 1 second, investments in communities to promote improved health outcomes and public safety, such as parks, recreation facilities, and programs that increase access to healthy foods. Not really all relevant in one section, but that is how it's written. The purpose of this project and this purchase, as I understand it, and correct me if I'm wrong, is to create an open space. That would be a park. The location of the property. Now, what we're talking about is right on the corner of Edmonds and Garrett at the edge, of where the boundary line of the property is. Therefore, it is within the considered area. So taking into consideration the fact that the U.S. Treasury Department has issued its final and interim orders suggesting that parks are permitted as a use, given the fact that under the table of permitted uses for capital expenditures, if a project has a total expected capital expenditure of less than $1 million, no justification is required. There is no reason to suspect that this project would not be legally sound. Therefore, I would suggest that there is no issue here and that the actions taken by council were proper and authorized under ARPA. Now, with regard to who signed the deed, I don't know if that's the appropriate question because in a deed transfer, the grantor is the one who signs the deed, not the grantee. In this instance, the grantee would be the township. There would be no signature needed from them. However, as this was an ordinance passed by council, the mayor at the time, Mayor Keffer, is authorized to take any action within the four corners of this document, including making purchases that are within the bounds of the U.S. Treasury Department's order. That would include purchasing property for parks and open space. Finally, as part of the order, there is a third-party company that is a compliance officer that has been appointed to determine whether any purchases or anything spent with this ARPA money is within the guidelines established by the U.S. Department of Treasury. If there's any concerns with that, the compliance officer would certainly bring that to this council's attention as was required by the ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you. Start with Counselor Wentz. She had her hand up first. I'm sorry.
Okay, so to begin with, ordinance number 3139. There's something that, there was an amendment made to it that did not get on it before it was signed, and that was 69th Street being allocated $1 million. We had a discussion about, there was typo, there was a missing zero. And it read off as 100,000, but it's really $1 million. We talked about it, we amended it. In fact, Solicitor Barsini was the one who read it, and we corrected it at the meeting, and she read it correctly, but it didn't, that extra zero in the comma move did not happen on the ordinance before it was signed. So I just want to clarify, there's no extra funds in this ordinance. All of the funds had been allocated to specific properties, business districts. 1. 2, when you say we have passed ordinances prior for ARPA, for open space, this would have made sense to go to that, but it wasn't included in the ordinance. This property was not included in any ordinance in reference to ARPA. We've been very specific about clarifying where the money goes. And it is outside the purview of this ordinance. To be clear, it is between the trolley track and Edmonds. And this ordinance specifies for Garrett Road, Garrett Road West, Edmonds to Childs. That's Edmonds Road to Childs, going this way. This triangle is between Edmonds and the trolley tracks to my left, as if Councilwoman Blackwell was the space that would be here. And if myself and Councilman Andrusco was Childs, this side of the business district was included, but not Councilwoman Blackwell, outside the purview of the ordinance. Look at the map I have. It's very clear. Edmonds Avenue is the dividing line. To the right, to Childs, to Councilman Andrusco is included. To the left, Councilwoman Blackwell, not included. The triangle of this property is not included. Yes, it is okay if they brought an ordinance, if an ordinance was brought before council for that amount, to be approved by council to purchase the land, yes, of course. But it was never mentioned. It was not included in this ordinance where they took the money from to pay for it. It was not included in this ordinance. We were very clear about what we discussed. We were very clear about what it applied to. Purchasing that land never came up in the discussions out here in this meeting, in the council chambers. It may have came up in behind closed doors on some meetings, but it did not happen out here. So I understand you're reading what you've been given to read, Solicitor, but this is very specific and it's outside the purview of the ordinance. There should have been an ordinance specifically for open space for that property for council to approve. And if we had it, and I'm not to say that it wouldn't have been approved, but we would have had the opportunity to ask if the gas tanks had been removed, had they been filled in, what's the environmental impact of that property since it had been a gas station? But we were never given the opportunity. It was never brought before us. We never got the chance. And funds that were not allocated for its purchase was used for it. And we were told at the last meeting or multiple meetings, that it was a previous ordinance. And when I asked Solicitor Kilkenny specifically a week later saying, where is that ordinance? He sent it to me, 3013, 10 years old, for $10,000. They would have had to bring a new ordinance before council to approve the appropriation of the purchase of the property, because this ordinance did not include the 32,000. It was 10,000. And ARPA funds was not an option 10 years ago. So I do believe it's illegal. I do believe, and ironically, it would have been most likely passed if they'd actually done it the right way. I don't understand why it had to be behind the doors, behind the law, behind council, to assume that we wouldn't have, of course, wanted to have a small pocket park there. Of course we would have, but we were never given the chance. And it was done incorrectly. And it's $10,000, it's not $32,000 plus. The ARPA ordinance did not cover it.
Councilor Wagner?
Thank you, President Tunis. I want to make it very clear, first of all, I am by no means challenging the fact that you can use ARPA funds to purchase property, especially to make it open space. I think the fact that you are saying that repeatedly is frankly a smokescreen. You are trying to distract from you as the solicitor's office. I don't mean you personally, but I know you've probably been given your script to read tonight. And I believe that you are using that as a way to distract what actually happened here. So again, I would completely concede that, and really not even conceding, it's not an argument, that open space and property can be bought with ARPA funding. So UHY, the compliance officer, also completely not relevant here. The issue is, and I'm going to ask you, you agree that property was purchased using funds from the business revitalization ordinance, is that correct?
No.
Okay, then what was it used, or I'm sorry, where were those funds come from?
So when I read the whereas clause in this, while the business revitalization is something that is mentioned, if we look at ARPA and the Treasury report and what their requirements are, it doesn't talk about business revitalization in the specificity. The issue is public health, public sector capacity expenditures, and the like. And that is exactly what has been spent here, is a public sector capacity expenditure. And it is noted in the ordinance where it says, under public health negative economic, and I don't know what this meant, but I didn't type it, 3, public sector capacity expenditure category 3, comma, 4, public sector capacity. It was right there in your ordinance.
What ordinance is that again?
The one at issue, which is 3139.
And when did that get passed by council?
August 2nd, 2023.
Okay,
Signed
that
by-
is the business revitalization ordinance. And if you read all of it, again, you did not answer my question and diverted. If you read it, and Councilwoman Wentz, if you want to tell me whether I'm wrong or not, I will withdraw this statement. But there were specific addresses we used within that ordinance to say where this money was being allocated to. Frankly, we worked very hard to get it allocated across the township. For example, in my district, in the first district, I believe it was Fern Boulevard and part of Vermont, if I'm not mistaken. I specifically remember talking to Vice President Heyman about his district in the 5th and what addresses we used there for that money to go to. At no point was that particular address brought before council and passed. At no point. It does not appear in any ordinance. It does not appear, it wouldn't even appear in front of us. So frankly, you want to sit here and say that these ARPA funds are able to be used for parks and recreation and for open space, fine. I agree. But they certainly did not come before this council, and you want to say it's not an illegal vote. It absolutely is an illegal vote, because another part of ARPA funds is that it must come before the council to be passed.
Councilor Heyman?
I was just going to address something that Councilor Wagner already alluded to it, but when we had a conversation in the process of doing these ordinances, that was the first property that I suggested that we purchased with our funds. So it was something that was discussed, absolutely, and it was my intention for that to come before council for a vote. And I absolutely trust our solicitor's advice that it did properly come before council.
It did not. If I may just respond to that. We absolutely did speak about it. I recall speaking about it. I remember the 4 of us who were in the room talking about it. And frankly, at that time, Mr. Heyman knew that we could not purchase it, and it was not part of the ordinance. That's why the specific addresses were put in there.
That's false. I did not know that we could not purchase the property. What I was advised was at the time is that it was owned by, I believe, an oil company out of Texas, not that we could not purchase it. That is false.
Councilor Banto?
Yeah, so my question to that, was there any communication regarding any reallocation?
No.
Silva?
Thank you. So I have a question. When you were saying the justification that all expenditures up to $1 million don't need any, what was it, external justification?
Written justification.
Written justification. So would that then approve, like council approval, or how was that relevant to whether or not it was allocated by the council?
So I just want to clarify something. This ordinance that you keep relying upon doesn't provide for anything other than the provision of the money. It doesn't say that trash cans are permitted. It doesn't say that you can buy
It did originally.
flowers. It doesn't say you can buy a building. It just says there's allocations. There's nothing more in this ordinance unless someone has a copy that I do not have.
How is the public speaking?
There's nothing in this ordinance that says you are specifically buying.
Yeah, please, if you guys can please keep it down. It's hard to hear people speaking, okay?
So I'm
Please.
confused. So when the expenditures when council passes the ordinance, and then there's a list of things that the money is to be spent on, right? Has no value, that's not considered when you spend the money, or I'm not sure. Why are we here?
I don't see an appendix anywhere mentioned in this ordinance. I don't see an appendix attached to this ordinance. All I have in front of me is just the allocation numbers and the street ranges. And I would remind everyone that it says for business districts, and if we're going to be really specific about that, Edmonds Avenue beyond is in your business district. According to your zoning map, that is in your C1 district. So it is within your business district. I don't know who designed the street. I don't know who said which street's going to be which. But I can tell you right now, I'm looking at your zoning map, and Edmonds is clearly within your business district. It's your C1.
Okay, but I feel like, not to be rude or whatever, but I feel a little like, okay, so when we talk about the ordinance, then you talk about the zoning map, or you'll talk about ARPA, the CFRs concerning ARPA expenditures. But it doesn't seem like, if I ask you a question about apples and you start telling me about bananas, that's the correct way the discussion's supposed to go. I mean, I'm a little confused as to what they're asking, if it's justified by the ordinance, and you're saying that, well, your zoning districts are different, or you're saying that it seems a little, can you at least appreciate the fact that seems peculiar, that's the course of the way you're explaining this?
So then help me to understand what the question is that you're asking me, because I'm trying to answer it, but you just don't like my answer. That's what I feel like I'm getting from you.
All right. Well, they're saying that because I'm not having as much trouble understanding the initial question, that the location of the property that was purchased was outside of the realm described in the ordinance. Now, I understand what you're saying, that the CFRs would allow it, that the ARPA expenditures would allow it, that the zoning district is different from what is described in the ordinance. But what the people, I believe the question that they're asking is, why was a property outside of the confines listed inside the ordinance proved to be purchased when the ordinance itself was about directing money to revitalize a business district outside of that address?
So again, from what I understand, your question is, you are asserting and you're saying that the property in question is outside of the parameters in the ordinance, the streets.
Yes.
Okay. Would you agree with me that the property that we're talking about is on the corner, the intersection of Edmonds and Garrett?
Sure. It's on the intersection of Edmonds and Garrett.
So it is, one frontage is on Edmonds then. You would have to agree with me there.
I absolutely do. And the other frontage would be on Garrett.
Right. So
Yes.
it is within the bounds of Edmonds.
It's on Edmonds. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, so as to your statement
One
that,
second, Councilor Wentz. It's hard to hear you. I'm going to ask, please, if you guys can please allow council members to speak.
as to your statement that the funds for the purchasing of this property did not come from 3139, that is actually incorrect because all of council got the report for the end of the year, 31st, 2023, and in that, under ARPA allocations for ordinance 3139, 32,000 plus was taken out. That was the exact price of the purchase of this property. That's how we found out about it. We didn't know, no one came before council to tell us that they were purchasing the property. We found out by reading the budget report from the finance department to discover that those funds, this exact amount of the purchase of the property was taken out of that ordinance. So the funds were taken out of this ordinance. It was literally taken out of the ordinance, okay? But it was not included in the ordinance. You say that Edmonds, yes, Edmonds, but for us, as in the creation of this ordinance, the middle of Edmonds to Childs, to the middle of Childs, that's the property, that's the territory. That triangle is not in it. It's not in it. No matter how many times you say it is, it's not. And yes, they should have brought it to council. We would have probably passed it. We would have found a way to allocate the funds, but they didn't do it correctly. They didn't do it in transparency with an ordinance. They did it behind closed doors. Yes, I do. I am because
Okay, so as the
I
council.
am because I'm very frustrated with the concept of the laws are bent anytime anyone wants to do whatever they want, even though we take a lot of time and most members of council were part of this. We approved this. And yet you're okay with the purchase of the property that's not part of the purview, and the funds was taken out of this ordinance. Check your report from 12/31/23. Look under ARPA, look under 3139. That's where the funds were taken from.
Okay, thank you, Councilor Wentz.
I have a question. So, what does everyone want to see happen? Because people keep asking the same question. I didn't ask you. I was asking up here.
Members of council.
What members of council, what would you like to see happen?
I would like some transparency. I would like someone to come forward and say, to acknowledge the fact that, to have a conversation with us, to tell us about this property and why they did it and why they took those funds versus the funds that were meant to revitalize that portion of Garrett Road. That business district needs revitalization, but it's short $32,000+ to do it. Come before us, have a conversation. We're not evil. We would have approved it. We would have found the money, but no one came to us and had given us a chance.
Councilor Silva.
Yeah, I mean, just to sort of reiterate what, Microphone. Sorry.
Microphone.
Jesus. So yeah, I think that's kind of what I would like to see too. I mean, we've had a couple instances here where it seems like decisions were made and things were hurried along, or we sort of, no offense, it feels like sometimes the law is bent to the situation and not the situation bent to the law. And I don't even understand it, to be fair, because like I can do the math. I mean, there's this council shouldn't be contrary to the mayor's, ideas or whatever. Like numerically speaking, you have an advantage on this council, right? So just do it appropriately. I mean, is that too much to ask? I mean, I don't feel like, in my mind, I don't feel like this was done appropriately. Okay, that's my own feeling. If you disagree, that's okay. I get it, but you have the people here, right, to put this up for an ordinance publicly, to do this in a correct manner, accordance to the Home Rule Charter and the CFRs and the zoning. They don't have to be like sort of, well, we're going to follow these two sets of rules, but not this other one. I mean, we could follow all three, right? I mean, isn't that what we're supposed to do?
Yeah, so thank you, Councilor Silva. I just want to make it clear. A lot of these assertions is based on the previous administration. It's based on the previous council leadership. I was not the council president in December, and Mayor Brown was not the mayor. What I can tell you, as the council president, I'll work with the administration and the solicitors. We will review this, work with council, and try to find where we are before the next meeting. Okay, that's the goal. Okay, the attacks that you guys are stating, it's not fair because this isn't the doing or the alleged doing of Mayor Ed Brown. And to be fair, we're just trying to. The mayor inherited a government. We're trying to get things moving along. Maybe there were mistakes in the past. I don't know. I wasn't in those conversations. But like I said, as your council president, I'm going to work with the administration, work with the solicitors, circle back to council, and we can have this discussion, okay? That's all.
President Tunis, may I just say one thing in response to that?
Yeah.
At no time did I mention you or the mayor. That was not directed at you. This was completely directed to the solicitor's office, who I believe is the problem here. That was completely directed to the solicitor's office. So I do not want you or Mayor Brown to think that this was directed at you. I acknowledge Mayor Brown had not even been sworn in yet.
So can I just speak now? And no offense taken, I appreciate you saying that, but you don't have to. This is on my watch now. So we want to do things the right way. We heard it loud and clear that you have some issues with how you think this was done. So we're not going to solve it tonight. We will research it. We will go through it as we always do, right? You brought some other things to our attention and we rectified it, correct? Right? You brought some things to our attention. So this will be treated no differently. We will review it. We will come back. We will have an answer. You may not like it. I mean, that's just the nature of the business. You may not like every decision that we make. You may not like how we do things. We're not going to do things incorrectly. We're not going to do them illegally. So if we do something wrong, I think we've proven that we'll rectify something if we do it incorrectly. So it's not going to be resolved tonight. People can speak as strongly as they want and yell and scream. It's not going to be resolved tonight. We're going to do our due diligence. We will review the process and then we'll go from there. So I don't want to keep going back and forth. And, I think that should sum it up. I think that should end it so we can move on to something else. Okay?
Agreed. And that was, let me just say this
Mayor
one
has
thing.
the floor. Please, we cannot call out, okay?
I'm not calling out.
I'm sorry. I just want to give treat every council member the same.
I agree, sir. I'm just saying that I agree with everyone saying, and that was just my question. I was just asking, what do people want? And, and he answered it, and you answered it correctly, I think, in my opinion, because it felt like people were blaming people for something that we had no foreknowledge on, and we can't correct a past mistake that no one knew about. That's all I'm saying. So that's why I asked the question, what do you want this
Sometimes,
council to do?
opinions and accusations are stated as definitively as fact, like they say it real strongly as if it's fact. That's not always the case. Sometimes they'll be right, sometimes they'll be wrong. But I think we've proven the fact that we want to get things right. I don't have a desire to hide anything. I mean, they don't pay me enough in this job to hide anything. I'm just not going to do that, right? And my integrity.
Agreed.
Let me just finish, right? My integrity means everything to me, right?
Agreed.
So I'm gonna fail on my own fruition, and I'm not gonna do things incorrectly. That's just not what I do. So if we make a mistake, I've taken responsibility for mistakes. I've been the mayor for a couple of months now, and if we get it wrong, we get it wrong. That's on me. I take responsibility. While I appreciate you saying that was the past in administration, this is where we are now. So if there's something out of whack now, if there's something wrong, I will make sure it gets fixed. That's all.
I agree.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Ed. And look, this is what I want to say here. The frustrating part with this whole trying to fix something, those people that are questioning stuff here, you are the very same people that presided over some of these things. Okay? No, I'm not.
Councilor Banto has the floor.
I didn't know about it.
Yeah, Councilor Banto has the floor.
I'm just saying.
It would have been before
Councilor
council if I
Wentz.
knew about it.
Agree, Councilwoman, when I'm on the floor. Am I protected?
Councilor Banto has the floor.
Okay, thank you, Mr. President. So what I'm saying here, the mayor just give her the way forward. Let us move on, and the president said that. Let her move on. Try to fix something here. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Banto. Okay, from the Solicitor's Office, do we have any other updates? Yes, Solicitor Marcini.
An update. So we've been working with the Community and Economic Development to address property owners that have not been responsive to the citation process. The goal of the group, working with license and inspections, planning and zoning, fire, police, and the township engineer, is to bring these businesses into compliance with building and zoning. We've made a lot of progress with the properties owned by the Ashkenazi acquisitions, including the 69th Street.
I'm sorry, are you in the mic?
Yes,
Okay,
I'm sorry.
yeah,
I get excited.
it's
And I
okay.
talk fast.
It's okay.
So we were talking about, we've made excellent progress with the properties owned by Ashkenazi acquisitions, including the 69th Street Shoppers Garage, the former Sears Building, and the garage on 69th Street between Sansom and Walnut. Most recently, we were in court on February 27th on 9 citations, including fire suppression, electric, plumbing, and concrete. They made a lot of progress, so we agreed to continue it for 1 week to see if we can make more progress, and we did. We made a lot more progress. So on March 5th, I was in court again, and we're going to give them 3 weeks to complete all the work. So what we've done is we keep the citations open, get the work done, and then we're hoping we'll be able to withdraw the citations, and the work will have been completed. So that's what we've been working on, and that's the update. And they're also, I forgot to mention, the best part is they're going to submit a full plan to demolish the former Sears garage. And that's going to be permitted, it's going to be presented to the township on March 25th. The work's going to start in June, and more information will come to the public as it becomes available. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Solicitor Marcini. It's great to have you back. At this point, we'll be going to old business. Is any members of council that would like to bring forward old business?
President Tunis, since this discussion.
This is not a portion of the time for the public to speak. I do apologize if there's something you'd like to say. If you could please wait at the end of the meeting.
The explanation be given in an open forum that the mayor was talking about. That's what I'm trying to ask.
Okay, you can talk, you can speak with the mayor or his office after the meeting. Next, is there any council members that have old business? Councilor Wentz?
Actually, I have a question for CAO Crandall. When you were talking about fixing the elevator, you were talking about to replace the motor, it'll take 6 to 8 weeks, but then there's going to be a huge overhaul of the elevator for 6 to 8 months. Why fix the motor if we're going to replace the whole thing anyway?
Because there's an obvious access issue to public services for the building. We're having people walking up the stairs, having issues getting up the stairs to do the business that residents and other business people want to do. And so we want to create public access to the building.
So will the elevator be available to be used during the upgrade? Will it be in the same space, or are we just putting in a brand new elevator so that that one elevator could be used at the same time?
We're looking at, I don't think that that we'll do another shaft, because I don't think the building can support doing another shaft. So we probably will have to, as they close down, to actually upgrade the elevator. But that's something that, as I said, Eric is working with the 3 firms. They're going to put together a proposal that we'll bring back to you guys to let you know exactly what's going to happen. I don't know what exactly is going to happen at this point.
Okay, I'm just trying to figure out if we're still going to be without an elevator for 6 to 8 months anyway. I don't see why we should spend the money for 6 to 8 weeks for a new motor when we're going to need a lot more money to fix the elevator itself.
Well, it's going to take, it's not going to probably happen right after we fix the elevator.
Okay.
We've got to fix the
We're
elevator.
going to need capital
get
budget
out,
for it.
And then we've got to do some stuff.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to understand that.
Understood.
Thank you. That's all that I had. Oh, actually, I just wanted to thank everyone who came out to Brian Taylor's memorial. It was great to see Mayor Brown, CAO Jones, and Councilwoman Blackwell was there. I had made bags, Councilwoman Wagner was also there, I apologize. I made bags for everyone with incense, candles, and some candy. Brian was known for lighting candles, so that everyone had a candle to light in his honor. So thank you for everyone who came. And thank you for those who put on the memorial. It was really awesome. And to the residents here that participated, we really appreciated it. Thank you.
Mayor Brown? Oh, sorry. I thought you were saying that one. Are there any other council members for old business? Councilor Silva?
Feels like it's old business now. Oh, yep, sorry, microphone. Mr. Brown, or Mayor Brown, if I came off derogatory or angry, I apologize. It was not my intent. It was just a question. Councilwoman Billups asked what I would like to see. I was just trying to respond. I should not have named names. Perhaps that was wrong, but I just wanted to share a little bit of my own frustration.
No apology needed. I understand passion when I see it. I was just trying to get us to a better place. We weren't going to resolve it tonight, no matter how hard we was talking, so it's all good.
All right, thank you.
Okay, next item on the agenda is new business.
I have something.
Councilor Phillips.
So, sorry. You know I love you. There is I'm getting to the mic. There's an agency called, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to pull it up, so I just had it. It's called Fruits of the Family Table. And they are having it's called the Repurpose Project. So where you update wooden furniture while also discovering new purposes for our lives. The project includes is for ages 18 to 24. Project includes where these young adults can earn up to $400. It includes breakfast, lunch, SIPTA passes, and helpful resources. Marketable skills development and case management. It begins on March 25th. This project, this agency is located in Councilwoman Blackwell's district, and they will the repurpose project is actually in Philadelphia though, but it's the Fruits of the Family Table is actually in Upper Darby, and the project will begin March 25th and is at 846 South 57th Street. Registration begins. The deadline is March 18th. And if you are interested, if you know a young person between the ages of 18 and 24, you can register at www.fruitsofthefamily.org. Telephone number is 267-410-6188.
Can you repeat that phone number again, please?
Sure. 267-410-6188. And again, 18 to 24. And I will actually be one of the social workers there that's doing trauma-informed care.
Thank you, Secretary Billups. Is there anyone else for new business? I apologize. Seeing none, next item on the agenda is a motion to adjourn. Can I
So
have a motion?
moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you.
See, we can agree on something.